Hi everybody, Lee Hickenbotham with the Parent Project here. As we go through these difficult times, I know it can be very stressful. We're all cooped up. However, the good thing is we know where our children are. They're at home. So what better time to practice the skills that we've learned over the last 6 weeks? So I'm just going to take a few minutes to review what we covered over the last 6 weeks. In chapter 1, we talked about understanding our children. We talked about love and affection. Remember, that's the foundation. Tell your children you love them every single day. Just don't assume that they know. They're in their rooms, right? They don't want to be around us. They're hiding in their rooms. They're on their phone. Send them a text. Hey, I love you. You go to make them lunch. Put a little post-it note on the plate when you serve them their sandwich. Just telling you I love you. Trust me, they're going to appreciate that. Catch them doing something right. We always tend to get on them when they're doing something wrong, but let's catch them doing something right. It can be something as easy. They come in and they drop their sweatshirt and they pick it up and they hang it up instead of just leaving it on the floor. Hey, thank you for picking up your sweatshirt, right? They put their dishes in a dishwasher instead of leaving them in the sink. It might be minor, it might be expected, however, it's something positive. Thank them for that. Give them positive strokes. Let them know that they're doing good, that you appreciate what they're doing. Be positive. Remember that we don't control our children, but we do control their things. We talked about the T-spot. Take everything away for a short period of time. Now your T-spot can be anywhere from 1 hour to 7 days, but it really shouldn't be more than 7 days. But remember to let them know that that T-spot starts the moment they do what you ask them to do. So if you ask them to clean their room and it takes 2 weeks to clean their room, that T-spot starts the moment it's done. So those 2 weeks, that's on them. That 1 week T-spot that you gave them for not cleaning their room starts the moment their room is clean. In chapter 2, we talked about how our children are driven by emotion. As adults, most of us think logically, for the most part, but our children, they're driven by emotion and everything can be blown out of proportion. So we need to remember that. We need to remember that. Don't argue. I know it's easy to say, and I know it's something that we as adults really need to practice because we grew up arguing. However, if you take one away, remember it takes two to argue. You take one away and you don't have an argument. Is your child going to still complain? Yes, but don't give in. Remember, don't address the problem when you're angry and when your child's angry. It's like throwing a ball against the wall, right? Nothing's going to get accomplished by it. So take a time out. Now I'm not talking about standing in the corner, but what I am talking about is just go on a walk, go into another room, calm down, okay? Let your child calm down. Once both of you are calm, then readdress the problem. Develop a plan, okay? Before you go to talk about what it is that your child isn't doing right, write everything down you want to say. Have a plan available. Let your child know that there's rules and there's consequences and what you need to ensure their success. Take threats of suicide seriously. Remember, if your child is threatening suicide in any way, if they're posting about not living, if they're throwing out words such as I don't want to live anymore or life's not worth living, I'm depressed, then we need to recognize those signs. We need to take it serious. We need to call 911 or we need to call Uplift Family Services and get them to have a counselor to come out to help deal with the situation. In chapter 3, we talked about active supervision. We talked about the 5 W's, right? Knowing where your children are, why they want to do something, where they're going. Um, we talked about doing spot checks. If they ask to go to a friend's house, if they're going to the mall, we want to stop in at the mall, find a reason to go shopping, right? Now, right now, we shouldn't be. We should all be at home sheltering in place. But once the shelter in place is lifted, let's do our spot checks. We talked about monitoring their music. Music can have both a positive and a negative influence on us and our children. So we want to go through their music. Yes, it's going to take time to go through 10,000 songs, but all you need to go through is just a few to get an idea what their music genre is, and just kind of educate them on some of the not so positive musicians that are out there that can have a negative influence in their life. Also, social media. You should be following them in whatever social media app they have. Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever it is, you need to be following them. You need to ask them for their password so you can go in and see what they're posting and what their friends are posting. In chapter 4, we talked about drug use. We talked about how there are many different drugs out there, but the drugs that are the most common: alcohol, marijuana, and prescription drugs. Now, prescription drugs are the easiest to get. Why? Because they're in our house. They're in our medicine cabinet. They're in our friend's house. They're in grandma and grandpa's house. So make sure that you are monitoring your child. If you have to, lock up that medication. Our children don't necessarily smoke weed as in the bud form anymore. They're vaping it more often now, and so you may not smell it. However, the THC level is a lot greater, and you're going to recognize the signs. They're still going to have the bloodshot eyes. They're still going to act out of character. You know your child better than anyone else, and you know when they're impaired. So watch out for the signs. We talked about the 6-step action plan, and you can review that on page 63 to get a better understanding. In chapter 5, we talked about our children's friends. We talked about getting their phone numbers, knowing who they are, their first name, their last name, if they go by any nickname, who their parents are, what their addresses are. Get their parents' phone number. So if they're saying, hey, I'm going to be over at Tom's house, we need to know who Tom is, Tom's last name, and where Tom lives. We talked about the extended list. So if your T-spot with taking everything away isn't working, then we go to that extended list. Things that they really care about, such as clothing, makeup, hairspray, certain ball caps, right? Something that they treasure more than anything, that's on their extended list. For some of your children, that could be books. We talked about runaways. If your child runs away, you need to report them missing. If you give them a curfew of 8 o'clock at night and they're not home and it's 8:30, you need to report them missing. Don't wait until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't wait until the next day. If they're not home within a half an hour grace period, report them missing. Also, if your child is being violent, we need to call the police. We need to have a third-party interaction to stop that because it can only get worse. In chapter 6, we talked about relationships and teen dating. What is the appropriate age for your child to date? What rules have you set for them? Can they go on solo dates? Can it only be a group date? Have you met that child? Remember that the teen domestic violence is on the rise. So also look for signs if your son or daughter are showing signs of being depressed in a relationship. It's no different than with adults. We talked about teen sex. It's one or the other. They're either going to abstain, or if you're going to allow them to have sex, then you need to work out a plan where they're protected. Birth control, condoms. It can't be one or the other. You can't tell them, why I want you to abstain from sex, but in case you do, here's a condom. No, it has to be one or the other, and stick to it. Um, Establish house rules, and that should be done right away. Write them down, put them where they can see them. Put it on their bedroom door, put it in the bathroom on the mirror, put it on the refrigerator. Get a poster board and make them big in the house, and that's your new artwork until things get better. We need to know that they understand what the house rules are and what the consequences are for those house rules. And I'll just kind of review the 6-step action plan real quick. Step 1, tell your child how you feel, right? Don't be afraid to tell your child that you're disappointed. Don't be afraid to tell your child that they broke your heart. Number 2, establish the rules and expect success. Like I said, once you set a rules, don't give in, be consistent with it. Supervise their daily activities. Know what your children are doing. If they're bored right now, they're in the house, right? But we can set up activities for them. We can set up going outside, going for walks, going on a bike ride, something that to keep them busy so that they're not getting bored to where it can potentially lead to them sneaking out of the house and getting in trouble. Remember that step 4, that there are consequences for disobeying the house rules. Follow through with those consequences. That's step 5. Be consistent. Follow through. If they break the rule, this is going to happen. If you give them a T-spot for 7 days and at day 4 things are just going great, don't give in. Explain to them, hey, things are going great. I really appreciate that things are going great. You're doing a great job, and there's only 3 more days and then you'll get all your stuff back. Be consistent. And then 6, what can I do to ensure success? What can you as a parent do to ensure success for your child? As parents, we have to make those sacrifices. If they're having a drug problem, we need to get the drugs out of the house. We need to search their bedroom. We need to make sure we find those drugs. We need to get them help. If they're drinking alcohol, we need to stop drinking alcohol until they get better. We need to get all the alcohol out of the house, remove the temptation. If they're having trouble doing their homework because they can't focus, we sit down beside them and we help them work through the problems. And we make sure that we sit there until it's done. That's our job as a parent. So those are the 6 weeks that we covered. I wish all of you well. Remember, if you have any questions, you can always call Gloria Matrino, the Parent Project Coordinator, at 808-3794. That's 408-808-3794. Remember, stay home, shelter in place so that this pandemic can end soon. Practice social distancing, wash your hands often, and wear a mask when you go out in public. I wish everybody well, and God bless.